Howdy, folks. So today I want to give you a little bit of some drills, exercise for general ground mobility for flow arts. I just pointed at my poi. So I'm going to kind of show you it as an exercise flow, but each one of them is actually also a drill for moving positions on the ground. And so, depending on your levels of flexibility and strength and mobility and stuff, we'll start out real easy and then just do as much of this as you can and keep working with it, and eventually, like surprisingly rapidly, you'll gain the requisite strength and flexibility in your hips to be able to move around pretty well. So, starting out just like this, sitting on my toes are pointed out, sitting on my shins, and then I have my butt on my heels, just kind of sitting on it. And I recommend you do all of this stuff on a hard surface. I mean, I'm on a carpeted floor. I wouldn't say hard per se, but this is dinky. If you do it on a soft surface, it's not a bad thing, but a hard surface will give you feedback on your technique. If you rub a bone on the ground and it's very uncomfortable, that means you're doing something wrong. And so the hard surface gives you good feedback and helps you. It's like you have to have good technique or it hurts. So that's kind of cool in a way. And the other thing about it is I've never performed on a yoga mat. All the performances, I'm not saying it would never happen, but it's unlikely. And all of this stuff is applicable to like pavement and parking lots and stuff. It'll definitely hurt if there's loose gravel or something, but a generally paved parking lot or a sidewalk or any of that, this is all applicable to that. Because our goal will be to sit on the muscles, to have our soft tissue between us and the ground, essentially. And another cool benefit of that is actually it's kind of a massage to the weight of your body squishes those muscles between the hard surface of the ground, and it squishes them. It feels good, So if you do these drills slowly, you can actually get a kind of a massage effect from it if you're doing them with proper technique. And I'm on my shins. My toes are kind of rotated in, so I'm not on my shin bones, but the muscle along the front. So this is where I'm making contact with the ground, right? Just like that. And then from here, you would just your first warm up or exercise or whatever is just use your front of your legs, the muscles there, excuse me, Tim, and just make yourself tall, right? And so think of it like a type of squat. Flex the muscles on the front of your leg, and you'll feel yourself kind of pull upward. Just like that. And this is a good way to start developing the strength. Like if this stuff is hard, this is an immediate place where you can start to gain flexibility, right? A lot of people may not be able to sit all the way down. Just work your way into it. And then this will help build the strength in your legs for like lunging and standing and stuff like that. So just start with the easy, simple stuff and move forward slowly. So maybe 6, 7 reps of this. And that's a good place to start, right? The next thing that you could attempt to do is just take your sitting bones, like at the bottom of your butt, keep your shins in contact with the ground, but if I'm going to my left, I'm going to put most of my weight on my left leg, roll over that soft muscle, wink, and then put my butt muscle on the ground on this side. This leg's essentially floating, but I have it laid parallel, right? So this is the position. It's not particularly aesthetic, but switch back and forth, right? You'll feel this is a little difficult for some people at first. There's some flexibility required. And when you get into these positions, explore them. It's just good for warming up. The way that you're going to move from one side back onto both legs shared, think of this leg as your a gear or something touching the ground, and you're going to kind of rotate your knee, engage from your hips, kind of rotate your knee, and the friction of this on the ground is what brings you back up. You can put your arms out if you need it first. really it's all this leg. I'm going to float this one. See, I'm just rotating my shin against the ground, oops, to get back up there. So that's the engine that gets you back up onto your sitting here. Boom. Same thing with this side. Rotate this leg. So you'll start to get some flexibility there. You'll feel in your core. It's core activation to get to that. So this is just another good drill for gaining flexibility and strength that'll be required for moving around on the ground. And then I always put my hands in front of me like this because buzzsaw, right? You could always do a buzzsaw for all this. If you have poi, practice these with your buzzsaw going. All this stuff. Boom. So you'll probably feel a little bit warmer in your legs now. So we'll do the same thing. Drop over onto our bone, kick this one out straight. So now we're in like an L, right? Explore, feel. You'll find your soft spots underneath you for sitting on. There's a few places where it's nice and comfortable and a few places where there's some bone touching and it's not comfortable, all right? So explore this, get used to it. And then if you're doing this specifically for props, start playing around. See what you can do like in this posture. I call these little static areas where we can pause postures. It's not like a yoga posture or anything, but that's just what I'm talking about when I say it. So you'll find out a lot of your tech is inhibited because the ground is so close. You can't really do 4-pedal anti-spins unless you put your hands way up high, make it up real high. But you can easily do triangles and shit. And atomic stuff works well because of the diagonals. So get familiar with this. See what you can do on both sides. And then you're going to pull your knee forward, tip your toes backwards, and you're back to this one. We'll do the same thing on this side. Again, get into it, feel around. Just see where you sit, where your body makes friction with the ground. Because friction with the ground is your motion. That's where you get motion from. You can throw your legs, your arms forward or something and kind of rock, but really all of your engine for motion is from where you're touching the ground. So it's a good idea to be familiar, you know. And each posture will have novel little goofy things you can do. Like with this one, you can bounce off your foot, go under your leg. Just get creative, you know. So we'll pull this one back, knee up. Excuse me. Excuse me, little girl. Knee up. Move it back to here. And it's a good idea if you're using this as like an exercise to gain mobility and like strength and flexibility, just switch back and forth between it. Breathing's, I mean, you're working out essentially, you know, so breathing's important. And you do it for what works for you best, but just remember to breathe. So once you're all warmed up there, blink, we can take our knees, spread them out. Oh, back a little. So from here, take your knees, spread them out like this, lean forward. See if you can rotate one foot under you so that you can sit in this shin box like this. 90 degrees, both shins is like top of this foot on the ground. Both knees are close enough to the ground that I can still do that lunge stand thing that we were doing. Right? It's a little different, but essentially the same as that first squat move we did. And now windshield wipers, right? So the one that's in front, switch, and then the one that's in back, switch, and then sit back down. Get familiar with it. Do some squats, squat-ish things. And then explore what you can do with your props. Over the head stuff's always good. Bounces are awesome because eventually we'll have parts of our body that we can bounce off down here. Horizontal shit's always good because you can do one hand stuff horizontally, and that gets into some cool potential. So each of these postures, just explore it, get familiar with it. So if you're moving around on the ground and you find yourself down here, you'll have a battery of moves, you know. Right, right. Do that one a couple times. Swash, windshield wiping. Now, from the shin box like this, the way your knee is pointing, you know, you have your forward, you roll towards your shin. So my shin that's aimed at you, I'm going to use the edge of my foot and the inside of this foot, and I'm going to rotate on my butt. So I'm like this, facing you, right? This one can be a little tricky at first. It requires some core strength, and it's like, there's this thing called transverse abdominis. So just take my word for it. If you suck your stomach in, you'll be flexing some extra muscles, and it'll help you like pull in. So just work on this. Get as far in as you can. Get your knees as far in as you can. Just explore, find out where you are, right? And we'll do the same thing. We'll turn this into a little exercise. So I'll boom, into this shin box. And then same thing on the other side, right? So shin box, this guy, shin box. And drill it with poi. Explore all the potential. What moves can you do here? What moves are harder here to avoid while you're in these postures? You'll find all that stuff out by exploring, you know. Now we can look at some of those special moves, right? Since my knees are up, it gives me this cool negative space down here. So I launch my poi through. You can do the foot stalls from here. You could do, if you pull your knees in real far, tracers on your knees. You have to pull them in. You could do it out here, but they're angled. So the further you pull it in, the more vertical they are. That makes it easier. Right? Okay. So we've gone from here, all of these exercises. We flopped to the side, got these guys in. We went into the shin box. We've got the windshield wiper and the basic squat thing. So now we'll figure out how to stand up, right? So from the shin box, you can do two things, right? You can take this one on the ground and use that like a gear. Use it to rotate forward, pull your hips over it, and you'll bring this one up into a lunge like this, right? So you could sit back down, you have this lunge space. You can stick your arm under your leg if you wanted, figure out what moves work here. All this, yeah. Get your leg back out. You could go back into the, and rotate that. Now you're in your 90-90 lunge. They call this a commando lunge, 90-90. And then from the 90-90, you can just stand up, you know, either forward or backwards. And then do that in reverse. That's how you get down there. So we'll start standing, I'll lunge, right? Rotate this guy behind me, sit down, and now I'm in my shin box, and we've just drilled all the ways to be mobile in a shin box. I guess I'll show you that one. I didn't show you that one. This one's pretty easy. Weight on one leg, swing from a shin box into a shin box, or bring that knee right back. So you can use that to turn your 90s. And I'm putting all my weight on the muscles. So I'm not like grinding my knees or anything like that. This just feels good actually. Right? So that's some shin box into sitting. From sitting you can do anything, right? Put your legs out, put one leg up, bounce, and lay down. This is a classic. one thing about laying down, the tip, choose one side. You have a band of muscle that goes along your spine, so choose one of them. And I'm massaging them right now. Feels good. Do your crunch, get into your crunch, and then this is like the hard part to get past. Suck your stomach in, right? I promise it'll make it easier. So from here, sucking in, and then you just sit up. From sitting up, you go to here, into your shin box, and then I could stand from here. The other thing, you know, commando lunge into standing. The other thing I can do, excuse me, little girl, excuse me. The other thing I can do is roll onto this shin and swip this one upward. Dinky's in the way, excuse me. So this one just comes up. And again, this is my gear, so I'm rolling up like that. And this is just a closed down little, like a little squat lunge, right? And the same thing, put your leg around your arm, and explore this stuff, right? Up into your lunge, up into standing. So a little sequence we could pull off would be lunge down, swing, swing into this, around, into here, lunge up. So that's a bunch of different pieces that you can fit together and use to like get down, lay down, explore those, come up with different little, you know, bits of choreography that fit each posture, move through them, and then stand back up. You are on your way to ground game mania. Have fun.